Have you ever had everything you dreamed of and then watched it all fall apart overnight? That was David's reality. He had the life people envied, a loving wife, a laughing child, a business that was soaring. Every morning, success felt normal, and every night he slept peacefully under the roof of his achievements. But destiny had a different plan. One morning, a single phone call changed everything. His business collapsed, debt swallowed him, and friends vanished like smoke. The laughter in his home faded into silence, replaced by fear and regret. He wasn't just losing money. He was losing himself. Standing in the ruins of his own dreams, David realized that sometimes life must burn everything you built, not to punish you, but to rebuild you stronger than before. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. David woke up each morning to the same broken reflection staring back at him. A man he no longer recognized. He had gone from inspiring others to avoiding his own shadow. The people who once shook his hand now whispered behind his back. Failure wasn't just around him. It lived inside him. He felt like the world had labeled him finished. Bills piled up, doors closed, and hope became a stranger. Yet deep down, a small whisper remained, a voice that said, "You're still breathing, and that means you're not done yet." The pain was heavy, but it was also shaping him quietly. Life was stripping away everything fake, leaving only what was real, his strength. One cold evening, David sat on the floor of his empty living room, staring at unpaid bills and broken dreams. His young son walked in and climbed into his lap, holding his small hand tightly. "Daddy," he said softly, "even if we have nothing, you're still my hero." Those words hit David harder than any failure ever could. Tears filled his eyes as something powerful awakened inside him. In that fragile moment, he realized success wasn't about cars, titles, or money. It was about love, courage, and refusing to quit. That night, David made a silent promise to himself. He would rise again, not for pride, but for the little boy who still believed in him. Sometimes it takes the smallest voice to remind us of the greatest truth. You're not broken, just being rebuilt. David began again, this time with nothing but determination. He took odd jobs, repairing, cleaning, learning, anything to keep moving forward. The same city that once cheered his success now mocked his struggle. But he didn't explain himself. He worked in silence, fueled by purpose. Every day his hands grew rougher, but his heart grew stronger. He learned humility, patience, and faith. Lessons no business school could ever teach. There were nights when he wanted to give up, but then he'd remember his son's words echoing in his mind. Brick by brick, he rebuilt his life. The man who once feared failure now embraced it as a teacher. David was no longer chasing success. He was building character, one painful, beautiful step at a time. Years passed, and the same man who once stood in ruins now stood tall again. David's new business grew, not built on greed, but gratitude. He didn't forget the nights he cried alone or the days he went hungry. Instead, he used those memories as fuel to help others rise. He hired people who had lost hope, mentored those who had failed, and gave second chances to those who needed one. People admired his strength, but he smiled knowing that true success isn't about applause, it's about peace. The same fire that once destroyed him had forged him into something unbreakable. David had finally learned the meaning of rebirth. Not becoming who he was, but who he was meant to be. Every sunrise felt different now. David often stood outside his rebuilt store, watching the golden light spread across the streets. the same streets where he once walked in shame. He smiled, knowing that no storm lasts forever. The truth he carried within him was simple yet powerful. You are never truly defeated until you stop trying. His journey wasn't about wealth, but wisdom. Failure had been his greatest teacher, pain his greatest strength. Life doesn't end when things fall apart. It begins when you decide to rebuild. David's story became a living reminder that even in the darkest night, dawn is waiting. And that the past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. You can rise again. You can begin again.